Alright, here's the thing. Why are so many people unwilling to say, I don't know, or just admit that they lack knowledge in some area, or they look down on the people who do admit where they don't know something? Why are so many people like that? Why do we do this? The way I see it, admitting you don't know something is a sign of strength. To say I don't know shows that you understand your own skills, your own weaknesses, your areas of knowledge, and your areas where you're lacking it. To admit you don't know something proves we can likely trust you enough when you do say you know something. You're not going to pretend to know stuff that you don't. You're not likely to make things up to just fill in the gaps, make yourself look better. Before we start today's video, I want to say a quick thank you to Skillshare for supporting this video. I am very excited to tell you a little bit more about them later in this video, but in the meantime, if you want to work on expanding your skills and your knowledge and learn some cool new stuff, you can grab a free 2-month trial using the link down in the description below, or it's on screen now. You will get limited access to literally thousands of online classes for free for 2 months. It's amazing. So one thing I've experienced from a lot of religious people in particular is that when they see someone say, I don't know, they see it as a sign of weakness or some admission of failure, when it's really, really not. So many people are very quick to jump on the bandwagon of, well, if I don't know, it must have been God. Or even the whole, like, if you don't know every detail of everything you're talking about, then why should I listen to anything you say about everything? If you're not an expert, why should I listen to you? And of course, in reality, that is ridiculous. Yes, experts have more credibility, but not being an expert doesn't mean you're not knowledgeable. I want you guys to let me know down in the comments right now any experiences you've had with this. Have you ever felt ashamed to admit you don't know something? Has anyone ever shamed you for not knowing? Or have you ever felt judged when you didn't have an answer to something? Let me know your experiences. Tell me how you dealt with it, how it made you feel, and what you learned from it and what you do now. I really want to hear from you guys on this, because I'm sure I can't be the only one experiencing this. In reality, it's so absurd to think that everyone who talks on a topic or has an opinion on a topic is an expert in that area, right? It's like saying I shouldn't bake cookies unless I also know how to make a pavlova. You can know some areas of baking without knowing all areas of baking. Just like you can speak on one area of science without having to know every area of science. And you can bake pretty damn good cookies without being a cookie expert, you know? If we only ever let the top experts speak and express their opinions, then pretty much no one would ever get a chance to say anything or do anything, and we would be years behind where we are now in terms of just things we've discovered and things we know and how advanced society is. Of course, different circumstances require different levels of expertise, and not everyone needs to be held to the same standard. That's not realistic, it's not practical. Let's take an example with like skin and dermatology, right? If I go to a doctor for a skin condition, specifically a dermatologist, I expect him or her to be an expert in skin stuff, right? That's what you expect, it's what you want, it's what you need. Similarly, if I go into Boots, which is like a local kind of like pharmacy here in the UK, if I go into Boots and I ask the woman or man behind the counter, hey, can you recommend me a good moisturizer? I expect her to know certain stuff about skin and have a certain level of knowledge, but I'm not going to judge her if she doesn't have the same level of expertise as an actual dermatologist. And just because she doesn't have the same level of knowledge as a dermatologist, it doesn't mean she's not good at her job, and it doesn't mean she won't have enough knowledge to know what she's talking about to some extent. Admitting what you don't know is very important for both these people. Let's imagine I have like a rare skin condition. I don't, but let's imagine I do. And when I bring it up to the woman in Boots, she's never heard of it. So I'm like, look, I have this rare skin condition, I need a moisturizer. What do you recommend? And she has no idea what to recommend. She has two choices there. One, she can say, look, I don't know, maybe I'll go ask my colleague, or maybe you should go see a dermatologist and actually like get this sorted out by someone who does know. In that case, I don't risk any damage to my skin, I'm directed to the right people, that's it, it's all good. Or what she could have done is pretended she knew what my rare skin condition was. She could have pretended she knew what products to recommend, and in the end that could have caused more damage than it did good. It could have damaged my skin, it could have made me very ill, it could have really messed things up. If she'd pretended to have knowledge she didn't, I, as the consumer, could have suffered. Would I ever look down on a person for saying, I don't know, let me ask someone else? No. In that situation, would I have looked down on her and said, oh, well, you can't do your job if you don't know this? No. There's nothing wrong with admitting you don't know something, and in the long run, it helps everyone. And when we do hear people say, I don't know, or I don't know yet, or I don't know the specifics, we need to stop judging people when they admit that and instead applaud it, because it's a really brave and important thing to do. Admitting you don't know something means I'm aware of my weaknesses and the areas I need to improve in. It means I care about honesty and finding correct answers and genuinely wanting the best for people. It means you put the truth ahead of your ego. Why would we ever shame someone for that? Seriously, knowing what you don't know never makes you stupid. To use a slightly more personal example, when it comes to the whole like creation versus evolution thing, right? Because apparently that is my life now, basically. It's, oh god, I've had Kent Hovind like brought up constantly by everyone. Like even my friends are like, oh, what's Kent Hovind said now? Ooh. It's my life at the minute, it's ridiculous. So the whole issue, the whole creation evolution thing, it's complex, right? We can't deny that. It's not just one simple answer, and there are lots and lots of parts to it. Creationists have it a little bit easier because their whole view is basically God made everything, it's in the Bible. Kind of it, to be honest. Whereas the scientific view is a lot more complicated. It's like we have some ideas about the universe and how it came into existence. We have some theories about how life came about. We've done some experiments. We've replicated quite a few bits and things that could have happened in terms of like abiogenesis stuff. We know about the history of Earth thanks to some geologists. We have the theory of evolution. We have evidence for that in terms of like DNA and this and studying animal behavior and so on. It's all really big and complicated, and our view of the world and how we came to be here and where we're going from here has formed over a very long period of time. Our ideas have changed and grown and adapted and evolved, essentially. Our knowledge has grown and evolved. We know what we know at the minute, and we're going to continue to change and adapt what we know based on input from lots and lots of different experts in lots of different fields. Biologists, physicists, chemists, even geologists, anthropologists, archaeologists, sociologists, psychologists. They all inform each other and share knowledge and build upon the work of others. It's like going back to that old quote about like standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Except I find that a little inaccurate because we're not really standing on the shoulders of giants. We're just kind of all standing on the shoulders of other people who are kind of clinging on to other people, and we're all kind of slowly building each other up and clinging on and hoisting others up and moving around and clambering, and we're getting somewhere. Eventually we end up getting higher. Sometimes we fall down a bit, sometimes we build it up a bit more, it's lots of little branches, yeah. But the point is, it's big and it's complicated, and it's all based on lots of research by lots of different people in lots of different fields, and they all inform each other, right? To expect one single person, or every single person even, to be an expert in every single one of those fields is unrealistic, and it's unfair to ask that. I don't need to be an expert in physics to talk about how cell biology works, for example, and relate that back to evolution. Yes, understanding physics informs our whole world view in general, but you can talk about one area that relates to evolution without having to understand the specific details of every area. I mean, this sounds simple, it sounds reasonable to most of us, right? But a lot of the comments I get are like, okay, well, you've explained DNA, but how did the universe begin? It's okay you talking about this one thing that happens in cells, but if you can't talk about the beginning of the universe, then everything you say is invalid. And it's bizarre. It's like, if you, Rachel, can't personally explain this thing to me, then you shouldn't be talking about anything. You should be accrediting it all to God like I do. And it's very bizarre, isn't it? At a certain point as individuals, we have to acknowledge that we can't possibly be experts in every single field, and we do need to start putting trust in others, in other experts who are. I mean, it is good to have a basic knowledge of different fields, especially when they're interconnected. It's good to have the skills to critically assess and analyze whether we can trust another person, whether they are an expert or not, to be able to assess whether what they're saying is true or not. It's very good to have those skills, but it's honestly unrealistic to expect a single person to have the same level of expertise as the people at the top in every single field. Does that make sense? To like go back to my skincare example and kind of use that to explain it a bit more, like, I'm not a dermatologist and I don't need to be, That said, I'm not going to blindly slather stuff on my skin just because another person tells me to. It's good to have like a basic knowledge of like, these ingredients are good, these ingredients are bad, I want this outcome, and this is the basic way I'm going to get there. And I'm going to trust this person because of this reason, and this reason. Having those basic skills and that bit of knowledge is often enough to get by and to function and to kind of know what you're doing and get by in life. You don't need to be an expert in dermatology to do stuff to your skin, or to talk about what you do to your skin, or whatever, or to even recommend another product to someone. You feel like, hey, this worked for me, this is why it worked for me, this is my experience, maybe you could try it. You don't need to be a dermatologist to do that. Sometimes just having enough knowledge is enough. Of course, this isn't to say we should just accept ignorance or our own ignorance if we don't want to. This is not some ignorance is bliss kind of talk, not in the slightest. When you find a field that you're interested in and you're passionate about, of course it makes sense to want to learn as much about it as possible and to work to find out more and learn more and build upon the knowledge you have. But even in these areas that you are passionate about and that you may be approaching expert level in, or that some people already call you an expert in, even in those areas, it's more than okay to admit when you don't know something. That is perfectly normal. Few people can remember everything, even about the fields that they're experts in. And for a lot of things, we just don't have the answers at all yet. As a society, as a population, as a group of people, we just don't know the answers. Yet. And it's okay to admit that. Admitting we don't know something yet is not failure. It doesn't make everything we've done before fall apart. It doesn't tear it down. It just means we know and we understand what we still have to learn and discover. Identifying the areas where we lack knowledge propels us forward. There's this guy who wrote this great book. I'm probably going to butcher his name because he's French, but I think it's like Fabrice Midal. He wrote this great book that I've just finished reading called C'est la vie, the French art of letting go. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't agree with everything he said, but it definitely brought some very interesting ideas and concepts forward. And one bit I really liked was where he kind of spoke about or wrote about how you don't have to be an expert, you don't have to know everything. Sometimes you just need to let go and embrace the things you don't know. There was this one part that he wrote that he said, when we think we know the answers, we tend to stop asking questions, discovering and progressing. When we believe we hold the magic equation, we protect ourselves behind a theory and hang on to it. That bit kind of hit me and I thought it was worth repeating and thinking about, and it's true. With people like creationists who think they have the answer, they think God did it, they stop looking for other answers, other options, they stop asking questions. If you attribute everything to God, you stop learning and growing and moving forward, you stop looking for any other answer. Even if we don't have the proof and the evidence of a God, they stop looking because they think they know. When it comes to the origin of the universe, for example, I think it's far better to say, right now, we don't know for sure, but here are the theories and here are the people studying it and learning about it and working to discover new amazing things about our history. I think it's far better to say that than to just say, well, I don't personally have an understanding of this, and no one has come up with a completely infallible theory yet, so God must have done it. Let's just stop looking because God. Out of those two kind of perspectives you could take, one propels us forward and gets us to learn new things, and the other holds us back. The other makes us stagnate. When we fall back on the God of the gaps theory, we stop asking questions. We stop admitting there are still things to learn. We stop making new discoveries. As a species, we stagnate. And that's what happened throughout history so many times. You see periods of people learning and discovering and finding new things, and then someone comes in and is like, no, God, and then it just stops. Back when we had the golden age of Islam, it was amazing. People were discovering new things. That's how we got like things that we still use today, like these really specific methods of measuring and testing and so on. And then things changed and God took back over and it all started to stagnate. There is power and progress in admitting that we don't know something. And at this point, I think it's actually really appropriate to jump in and mention that today's video is supported by Skillshare, which I think is an incredibly appropriate topic for this video, and I'm very excited to be working with them. Skillshare is an online learning community with literally thousands of online classes taught by experts in all sorts of areas like business and tech and art and all sorts of both creative and practical stuff. I think it's great. all the classes are focused on like the proper practical applications of the things they're teaching. So you can watch videos and they give you little tasks to do, and it's great. If there's a skill you want to get better at, whether it's like web design or cooking or photography or marketing or whatever, Skillshare is going to have something for you to teach you and help you and you know, give you the skills you need. And they're adding new classes all the time, so even if you don't find something you need right now, chances are next week, in a month, in a year, there's going to be plenty more stuff. They're growing all the time. Like, think of it a bit like Netflix, but for learning. It's like a subscription service, so you pay something like, I think it's like £7 a month, or roughly like, what is that, $10, something like that, and you get access to absolutely everything. Like, it's not like you pay this much for this class and this much for this class. It's like set fee, access to everything you could ever possibly want. It's amazing, and you can use it as much or as little as you'd like. You can go back and rewatch videos, like seriously go at your own pace. So if you're a little bit slower like me and you really like to take your time and digest things and work through it kind of slowly, you can do that. Or if you're like, okay, well I need to learn this thing by the end of the week, bam, you can do that too. So recently I've been wanting to try and get better at like watercolor painting, and I've been learning all these new techniques. So yeah, I turned to Skillshare and it's been amazing, and I'm trying out all this new stuff. I'm really enjoying it. And if you don't want to commit to like paying up front, it's kind of amazing because with the link that I've got on screen now, I'm going to pop it in the description below, you can get a 2-month free trial. So access to like these, I think it's something like 18,000 classes, which is insane, for free for 2 months using this link. There's no pressure, you can just try it out, see what you think, and I really recommend you give it a go. If you do, and you find any classes you like, let me know what you recommend, because I would love to check them out as well, and I always appreciate you guys kind of letting me know this stuff. So yeah, they are supporting this video, huge thank you to them. I thoroughly recommend them, and I think what they do is absolutely amazing. And I thought it was kind of really appropriate for this video to talk about them, because it's all about kind of finding the areas of stuff you don't know and working to improve them, and you know, that's what Skillshare does. You can say, okay, well I don't know this, I don't have this skill, I want to learn this, and then improve on it. Amazing. Anyway, back to the video. I want to go back to something that Fabrice Midal said again for a second. A little bit later in his book, he offers a more practical kind of everyday application for accepting I don't know. He writes that we must be careful about this desire to understand everything. It can lead us astray. When facing serious questions, we tend to become lost in conjectures, calculations, and hesitations. We analyse the pros and cons again and again, letting months then years go by. In the end, we remain where we are, moping with regret. Like, how relatable is this? I've been there, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will probably have been there too. You know, this thing where like I haven't had all the answers, so I put something off and put it off and put it off, and I try and wait, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do this until I know this, I don't want to do this until I have these skills, I don't want to do this until I know this for sure. And you put it off and you put it off and you miss your chance, and then it's gone and you regret it. I put off starting a YouTube channel for so long because I was scared I wasn't good enough and I didn't have this knowledge and I didn't do this and this and this, and it took me so long to get started. And a huge part of me is just like, why didn't I have that courage to do it earlier? And I see people saying similar things all the time. I get it in like messages and emails. People who want to start a new project, whether it's a YouTube channel or something else, but they feel they can't do it yet because they don't know something. And so they keep putting it off and they keep making excuses. I hear it all the time. This whole like, I want to start a YouTube channel or make videos on such and such a topic, but I'm not an expert, so why would people listen to me? Or people who are like, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know everything about the kit that I need. Or I want to be a musician, but I don't know how to write songs like so-and-so. I'm worried I'll never be as good as them. Just because you don't know everything yet, it doesn't mean you don't know anything. And a lot of the time, it's not just about what you know in terms of objective knowledge, but it's about all the other things that come along with it, all the other things that make you you and make your experiences special and unique. It's about your opinions, it's about your stories, what's happened to you. You're going to bring something unique that no one else can bring to the conversation because you're you, and you shouldn't forget that. Anyone can open up a textbook and learn some facts, but if you can give them the facts and show them how you've applied it to your life, that's unique, that's different, that's special. And that's something only you can do. To look at a recent example, the transformed wife recently released a video about why she hates birth control, right? And how no woman should ever be using it. And both me and Mr. Atheist, like completely independent of each other, made video responses to it, right? And we did that despite not being experts on birth control. Jimmy was kind of wonderful in his response, and he pointed out like the bizarre bits of her arguments and so on. And I got a little bit more personal with it, and I was like, well, as someone who's had to use birth control, this was my experience with it, and this is why I did it, and it was for these health reasons and so on, right? Just because I'm not a doctor who prescribes birth control regularly, and I don't know the minute details about how every kind of birth control works, doesn't matter. My insight was still valid and useful and helpful to people. Similarly, just because Jimmy doesn't know what it's like to be a woman taking birth control, so what? His video was still smart and insightful, and again, it helped people. Just because we don't know certain things, it doesn't mean we can't talk about the other areas that we do know about. The things you don't know don't have to limit you unless you let them. If you keep waiting to be perfect, if you keep waiting to know everything, if you keep waiting to be the expert, to be the best, you'll never do anything and your whole life will just pass you by. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge your weaknesses and take the leap anyway. And that's not to say you ignore your weaknesses, that's not to say you ignore the things you don't know or pretend they don't exist. It's not to say you identify the I don't knows and then fill them with, you know, crap and like God did it and make things up. That's not to say that. But instead, you identify what you don't know yet, and you use it to help you grow. You use it to give you direction. You use it to push you forwards. And I think there's a hell of a lot of power in that. And that's why I would never shame someone for saying I don't know. Saying I don't know is a strong, brave, incredible thing to do. And I want to hear your stories about this. Like I said earlier, have you ever been shamed by someone for admitting you don't know something? Have you ever been the one shaming someone saying, well, if you don't know this, it's my condescending voice, what I was trying to be. But seriously, no, please share your stories in the comments below, because I would really love to hear from you guys on this and your experiences with it and just what you think of this whole thing. Again, huge thank you to Skillshare for supporting this video on my channel, and it really, really helps me. And I do recommend you go check out the 2-month free trial that you can get down in the description below. But for now, this is where I'm going to end this. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. It's something that I don't really ask often, but it really does help me and my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. So if you're new here, it would be great if you subscribe and stick around. It's a pretty eclectic channel where I do lots and lots of stuff, from where we talk about everything from like science and atheism and philosophy to like fairy tales and makeup and dogs and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of something for everyone here, but mostly I enjoy hearing from you guys and really starting a conversation and just kind of having fun with it. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's stuck around here for a while. Hi to everyone who's new here, and I hope you do stick around for a while. But yeah, thank you for watching today, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon. Huge thank you to everyone supporting me on Patreon this month, with a special thank you going to Data Jack, Trae Sprowles, Gambit and Chauffeur, Liv's Pantyhose Addiction, Mark Dauner, Christian Berg, Nathalie Romer, Simon Lundh, Jadeon Sheppard, Robert Korte, Peter Kyrouac, Sir Michael Moore, Christina the Atheist, Sage Villarreal and Loren Hart. You guys and everyone supporting me on Patreon are absolutely amazing, and I couldn't do this without you, so thank you so much. And remember, if you are supporting me on Patreon, you can get exclusive access to my Discord server where you can come join in the conversation. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there. And thank you all so much!